right, we're back. This is definitely not a glass of wine in a to-go coffee cup. All right, so we're going to look at this athlete's squat today. Let's see. Okay, so first of all, let me actually remind myself of what this athlete texted me. So he, off the bat, already knew that there was some limited mobility, saying that, noticing that his ankles are not necessarily helping him. Hips aren't letting him go as deep in the squat as he'd like to. So he also notes that, like, this is why I can't catch a clean. Makes sense. Left ankle is the main culprit. Right one isn't doing me any favors. Yeah. Okay. So let's look and see what's happening here. Okay. So literally right off the bat, I notice a weight shift. Let's see. Right here, he's good. And then starts to shift right there into that second. Okay. So one thing I would say for that, look in the mirror. Just watch yourself. Okay. Let me keep going. Move this. Okay. So that weight shift is pretty consistent. Let me see. I wrote down some other things. Let me open it up. Biggest thing I would say is with the weight shift, obviously watch in a mirror to see or like record yourself while doing it, but working on hip abductors, so pushing your knees out, time under tension, like putting a band around your knees and going down slower, and then really building up the glute endurance to hold that position. Let's see, another thing that I wrote down that I wanted to talk about with this one is a narrow stance. So he's pretty tall, and that stance is pretty narrow for his height. If he likes to squat narrow, like he can, that's everyone's right to choose how wide or like how narrow you want to squat. But I would just say for everybody out there, like play around with it. Usually women do better with a wider squat just because of how our pelvis is shaped. And then men do better with a narrow squat. But for him in this case, I was just saying, like, let's test out different variations and see if something different works. Like, that's not always, like, that's not the number one thing that'll fix it all, but it could help. So testing out different variations in the squat. Okay, side view. We already know that ankles are going to be an issue. One thing that I'm looking at here is going to be like how far his knees go over his toes. So let me see if I can, that's better. Why did I just do that to start? All right. Yeah, and you can even see that like this left knee is limiting him. This left ankle is limited. That right ankle is not as limited because you can see that knee's going a lot further. So I already know based on what I'm seeing right here, you're going to see a difference in his hips. I think the ankles could be a big component to it, but let me see what else I wrote down because I've already watched this video. So yeah, reduced ankle mobility bilaterally, with the left being the more significant one. One of the things I would say to fix this temporarily, elevate the heels. Just put a plate under your heels, especially while you're squatting barefoot. I think that could really help shift you forward. Long term would be more specific ankle mobilization drills. So like a band around the ankle, pushing the knee forward. That would actually help to pull that, like if this is your ankle, that talocrural joint. This is a bad, we'll use this. So it'll help to just push it a little bit more. If this is the band, this is your ankle, and then you just use that band and then try to push your knee further. It'll help to pull that talocrural joint back a little bit more. But I've got more drills that I can put later as well. Another thing that I wrote with this was that he does hinge quite a bit at his waist, so you can see that there's a pretty tight angle right here as far as his chest to his knee goes. I would prefer to see a more upright chest, especially if he's talking about catching clean, but I know that literally everything's starting from the ground, so ankle up, he's limited. All right. For that, by the way, just another thing on the thoracic spine, I would say, like, in order to keep an upright chest, work on that thoracic spine some more. So I would say like do some GHD, not sit-ups, but where you're laying on your stomach and then you extend your chest up, hold that there, doing some rotations, doing some side bends on that GHD machine. That would be pretty helpful too. Building endurance on it, like we talked about with the hip abduction time under tension, I think that would be really helpful right here. Let's see what else we've got. Yeah, that left ankle is just not moving. Let's see. Yeah, we definitely get more motion out of this right ankle. Yeah, his knee's able to go a little bit further too. So if we could even like pause for a second, look at this angle here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so at the bottom of his squat right here, we see the angle. I'm just holding that picture there. And let's look at the other side. This one, not moving at all. All right, so that's probably what, like an 80-degree angle right there. This one right here is getting closer to like maybe 60, 65. And I'm just eyeballing it just based on what I've seen in the clinic. Because, so if right here is at 90, right there's about 65. I would personally like to see more, like closer to 50 even for him, which I think is doable. Okay, I'll just keep it going. All right, I'm gonna pause right here. Ankles. You see way more pronation on this right ankle than you do on the left. Like, and that's also causing a little bit more knee valgus. So that's where I was saying like the hip abductor strengthening would come into play. So with that knee coming in, so this is what I mean by valgus. It angles this way. This knee is angled out a little bit more, kind of in line with the toes. So what I'm looking for is knees to be in line with the toes. And it's that same thing. And if you wanted to see the hip angle, so left hip higher than the right, like I mentioned earlier, because of that ankle mobility, he's not going to be able to dip as low on this left side as he does on the right. So that could be, I don't know if like the pronation was already there before, or if the pronation has just resulted as a lack of mobility on the left side. And by pronation, I mean on the right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's the end of the video. Let me see if there was anything else that I saw. I lost it on here. Okay, as far as fixes, that's all that I saw. One thing that I would say for the ankle, though, to push down with the right big toe, that's going to help to keep that arch lifted up. So keeping the arch lifted up on the right side, definitely going to help to keep that knee from caving in, so that knee valgus, and that's also going to help to keep that hip from dropping as well. Overarching theme, though, with this athlete right here, ankle mobility. I would just hit ankle mobility a lot daily. Doing, like I said, the banded one, doing anything where you're mobilizing the Achilles itself, mobilizing the calves, mobilizing the soft tissue in there, all of that's going to help. And then even just looking at how he's standing, you can see that there's a little bit of a muscular deficit on the left side compared to the right. So even just hitting some single leg calf work would be great right here. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's it for this one. That's a wrap.